Okay, so I'm gonna try. I think actually, as of, because let's do the math. So I uploaded Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Okay, so Sunday. Hopefully I get to the con store. I wish. Hopefully I get to the library tomorrow because I can't go Friday. They're closed. And today is they don't have the books in. And the books come in from the ILL on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'm waiting on one book from them. So hopefully, but without further ado, let's get into the comic reviews. I just realized I didn't have them right next to me. These are all, again, library books. Actually, no, two of them aren't. So two of them were actually ones that I didn't show before, because I usually show the books I'm going to read, and 9 times out of 10, it doesn't change. But this time it did. There was 2 additional books. Without further ado, let's get into it. Starting with Lore Olympus, Volume 4. Now that's right too. So I was thinking to myself, wow, I've had these books a long time. It seems like forever, and kind of has been. The reason for why that is because of the fact that we went away last weekend. No, the weekend before last weekend, and I didn't have no time to finish the books. Or this week, for last week. I'm all discombobulated because even like the time was flown by for me. Honestly, even I had to remember exactly what happened. But I didn't have enough time to finish them, so I gave myself an extra week. So there's that. So first one up is Lore Olympus, Volume 4. Like with all the Lore Olympuses, I like this series. It's not one that I would recommend to everyone because it is kind of, even though it is better than other webcomics, or at least what you would think webcomics would be, it's still one of those books that's kind of for young adults and kind of no one else. And because I like pretty much every kind of comic, I don't mind at all. And kind of, they have like a few F words, so it's probably like, it's definitely young adult, but it's like, I mean, if it were a movie, it would be rated R, but if it were a TV show, they make it TV-14 because there's not too much swearing, and they do spread it out a bit. But it is still for the young adult demographic. In fact, at my library, my local library, it is in the young adult section. So it's kind of has that like that feel to it. And if you don't like that feel to it, you probably won't like this book. But if you give it a chance, I would say give it a chance. Your local library should have it. I swear to God that every library has this book. Yeah, it's Lore Olympus Volume 4, and when it gets to like Volume 4 or 5 or 2 and above for volumes, unless my opinions change or I say, oh, this was better than Volume 1, pretty much just assume that's what I'm saying about the entire series. I probably am regurgitating a lot of the information that you've heard before. You've already seen my reviews of Volumes 1 and up, but this is like, everyone's video it's kind of like everyone's comic is their first comic. Everyone's video is their first video of mine, so I don't mind anyone being like, well, I gotta go back to this one. Which one was it? I do want you guys to watch my other comic reviews, because some of them, I finished reading, what's a good example? I mean, I finished some books this week, but, this week I finished one of a 3-volume series, and then next comic review, you only get that, that review of that book at all, because I already finished the series. Same with Lore Olympus, for now at least. Volume 5 is coming out pretty soon. Noche, Roja. Now, I have said time and time again, going back to everyone's videos, their first video, I have the best track record when it comes to crime comics. There are hardly any of them I don't like. Not automatic, but already, I don't... Yeah, I'd say automatic, not automatic. I would say before I read it, I mean automatic. I mean that, obviously. But there's none that I don't like. There's none I can think of I absolutely hated. Noche, Roja is almost that book where it's the only crime comic I didn't like. This one was just forgettable. Like, I couldn't tell you what happened. I couldn't tell you what any of the characters' names were, what even happened in this book. Like, I'll flip through it right now. I vaguely remember parts of this book. I'm flipping through it. I'm like, I don't remember that happening. I don't remember this happening. Very forgettable. Not that great. It's Simon Oliver, and I heard Simon Oliver is not the best writer. Now, Simon Oliver did sound familiar to me. In fact, when I first showed it off, I kept thinking he was the author behind The Kitchen, a very underrated Vertigo Comics series. It's not. It was someone else. And Simon Oliver apparently is a plagiarist, from what I remember reading about him. Like, basically is a plagiarist, and he got away with it too, because he, you know, some technicalities and all that bullshit. So that's great to hear, but not that great of a book. And also not that great of a guy, from what I've heard. Next up, we have The Unwritten. Now, I was talking about this series in yesterday's comic haul, because one of the books I got, like, part of the series, like, every first page would be a Silver Age homage, because it was a superhero book. And I said, oh, there was a cool little Golden Age character. It was a subplot where this person was writing a Golden Age character. It was a Golden Age comics homage. I really like that. This series has been ramping up, like, spectacularly, to the point where, like, each volume gets better and better and better and better and better. The only thing I really hate about this series, and thankfully, it's been, like, not very rare, but it doesn't happen every issue, is this. This I hate. This is walled text. Yeah, it's for a reason. It's the aesthetic of, you know, you're reading a bunch of articles about people, and, like, it's because he is the main character is very famous, so there's a lot of, like, articles about him on social media. People are discussing him, so you have to world build that, and I understand why you need that in there. And thankfully, I swear to God, Mike Carey, like, after each arc ended, he was like, alright, let's wait for the next issue, because I want to hear what other people, or letters pages. And he actually took what people were saying, and, like, we didn't like this, so do less of that. It's like, okay, I will. It's one of those books where, like, every problem I have with it, and the only major one is, again, this all this text thing, has gone away, pretty much. Like, it's few and far between. That was the phrase I was looking for. Now, with, at least for Volume 5, Volume 4, too, with this, and so it finally, it's not finally, it's definitely, like, it's getting better and better as each volume comes out. It's a very good series I highly recommend. Oh yeah, I didn't order them by, alright, so you know what I'll do? I think the only ones I don't... Well, actually, it's pretty easy. Because most of these comics I do recommend. There's, like, a few I don't. Transmetropolitan, Volumes 3 and 4. My local library had... Local library had Volume 4. They had Volume 1, Volume 4. I don't know why. Maybe they had Volumes 2 and 3 way back in the day, but they got damaged. They didn't want to get replacements, so they said to hell with it, go to ILL, because they have all this entire series on ILL. So when I put that book in, I decided, you know, let's do it back to back. It's basically like it's a book, basically like it's a complete collection, because complete collections usually collect 2 of these volumes at one. It's like, the hell with it, treat it like that. And this series is so damn good. I've read it, like, I think 5 times before, so it's my 6th time rereading this comic, maybe even 7th, and it's just as enjoyable as it was the first time. The very first time I didn't like it. I read issue 1, dropped it, then picked it up after, like, a year or so, when I got really into Warren Ellis's writing, and I absolutely had the exact opposite reaction. I loved it, and I've loved it ever since. This is political comics done right. Politics and comics done right. Very damn good series. Along with this series, this was one of the ones that, and this is pretty obvious if you saw that I was already had done. I was reading the series again, and that is Preacher. Preacher Book 2. This is one that I own. TLDR for why I don't own Volume 1. Prime Reading had it for the longest time, and I didn't think it would ever go away. It did, and I was kind of annoyed about that, but that was before when I actually thought I purchased all 6 books of this series, well, all the 5 remaining that I needed for this series. Now, the reason why I don't do that is because my local library has all 6 volumes, or 6 complete collections, and also I'm really focusing on Image Comics. But I might just break that rule, because this is my favorite comic of all time. Like, hands down, my favorite comic of all time. It is insanely good, it's insanely enjoyable, and each time I read it, I find something new to love about it. It is a 10 out of 10 must read. Now, I do have to say it does have a lot of offensive content, but honestly, if you it shouldn't be that bad. Like, I hesitate. Yeah, it is offensive, and definitely would not be written. It definitely would not. It definitely would not fly today without heavy censorship. But even from Image Comics, probably could come out from Image Comics. But this is insanely good. That's my point. Very good comic, must read. My favorite comic of all time, and it's like it's one of those books that I feel like I could read every 6 months and never get tired of it. That's how good this series is. So I'll put that to the side because that's not one I have to put. That's not a library book. Gotham Academy Volume 3. Volume 2. Not Volume 3, Volume 2. I'm getting Volume 3 this time around. This series, I swear, it's more of a Brendan Fletcher comic than a Becky Cloonan comic. Because even though I have not read a whole lot of what Becky Cloonan has written, so far, everything I've read that she's written, I think that's what I was trying to say. Everything I've read that Becky Cloonan has written has been pretty good. Like, nothing I would say I absolutely hate. Brendan Fletcher, I read Motor Crush, absolutely despised that comic. I read his Isola from Image Comics, didn't think that was all that great. Brendan Fletcher is a very, very hit and miss for me, and it's almost all misses. I can only think of, like, maybe one series that, like, oh yeah, Batgirl. That Batgirl run was absolutely atrocious. I wouldn't even say he's hit or miss. Like, everything I've read by him has been a miss. I mean, maybe I've read something by him that wasn't that bad, but this is definitely more of a Brendan Fletcher comic than a Becky Cloonan comic. All of Brendan Fletcher's isms are in here tenfold. It's very annoying. The characters can get pretty annoying sometimes. They have that one of the characters is overly positive, and it's kind of like that. They don't do it exactly right. Like it gets kind of annoying, and it's like not when I see her, like not when she appears on screen or on panel. I'm like, oh, this one again. No, not like that, but just kind of like, I don't know. It's just kind of. But there is some interesting aspects in this comic, but if I ever like. I'm almost thinking of dropping this comic altogether. It's not that great. But I do still recommend it slightly recommend it because it's not. First of all, it's not terrible, and I seem to be the only one who absolutely hates this comic. Near Mint Condition likes it a lot. He actually recommended it. That's why I picked it up again. But it's a great example of not every comic that I've reread have I liked more than I did the first time. I did like a little bit more than I did the first time, but not to the degree of Transmetropolitan and even Preacher, where out of a second or third reread, I absolutely enjoyed it. Like completely, complete opposite reaction I did the first time. I didn't like it that much the first time. I read it the second time and I absolutely loved it. And like Transmetropolitan and Preacher have become my favorite comics of all time. Like I'd say Transmetropolitan is probably 3 or 4. But this is just not that great. But I still do recommend it, though. Okay, if you didn't like his Batgirl run, if you're like me, you don't like anything Brendan Fletcher has read here, it's not gonna make, it's gonna be bad. Flash Volume 3, Guerrilla Warfare. Damn good run. I read it only twice. This is my second time reading it. A lot of that was because I was gonna get the Jeff Johns omnibuses and then read this again to celebrate getting all those omnibuses, but again, I'm focused on Image Comics, and even then, I don't have the money to get that much omnibuses at one time, unless I win the lottery or get really lucky with taking surveys for those websites I take surveys for. But it's like that would be even then. Like, the amount that I've saved up, or not saved up, the amount that I've earned altogether, and I've been doing this for over a year, the knowledge panel, as they're called, has only equaled up to how much those omnibuses would be. And I think even then, I would be short $100. So that should tell you how much, and it's still good. Like I still get I save up to at least $15 to $25. So, as I get gift cards, I'll put them in for a gift card. Okay, you guys see what I'm saying. I'm stuttering. Let's move on. Damn good run. If you like Flash, you like this run. It's a very I wouldn't say underrated, but it's one of the best new 52 stories in runs. And I honestly I hesitate to say that New 52 was a bad idea. there definitely was some bad ideas in it, but not altogether. Like, I think New 52 is way too much hate, and this is a reason for why I think that, along with Batman Run and Batgirl by Gail Simone, and notice I said Gail Simone, not Brendan Fletcher, and I was posted New 52 anyways. And Justice League I remember really liking. It's a bunch of them. Bunch of I haven't even read yet. What's his face's Green Arrow run, Jeff Lemire's Green Arrow run, which did come after which did come out after a very despised run. Speaking of New 52, we also have Teen Titans Volume 3. And this I would say is underrated. Overhated. I really like this run. I do think that people give it too much hate. I mean, I understand why. You know, it's not our Teen Titans. It's not, you know, I wouldn't even say it's like a good Teen Titans book. Like, I would not recommend this as someone's first Teen Titans book. But it is, written by a writer I also think is very overhated. That's Scott Lobdell. I have not read anything by Scott Lobdell I absolutely hated. He writes that kind of comic that, like, if you're in the mood for it, you'll love it. You know, it's the exact comic that if you're in the mood for it, it gives you everything, all those tropes that you love. You know, they are tropes. You still like them, but it's still good. You know, I still like it, and it's still, like, it has some good some somewhat good character moments, but it's not anything I like highly recommend. No, it's just something that I think is worth checking out if you get a discount. There should be a discount at all comic shops, or your local library has it. Wonder Woman Future State. I got this because the Becky Cloonan Volume 1 Wonder Woman book, which is the one I'm waiting on, by the way, that I got from my local library. I solicited for it. It did not have the Future State 2 issues miniseries. Sometimes they will, like the Green Lantern one I have on the Kindle. That one does have the Future State issues, but for whatever reason, the Wonder Woman book didn't. Maybe it's a different volume of Wonder Woman. Maybe, I don't know. But point being, this is pretty damn underrated. This is probably. I would hesitate to say that you would need to read all the Future States books simultaneously. You need to buy them all in order to know what's going on. But this is pretty damn good. I didn't even have a least favorite. I liked all the stories in here, even the one written by Nubia Real One's writer. Even that one I liked. Damn good artwork too. I shouldn't show the artwork because there's a lot of books I like the artwork out of, and if I show the artwork of all the books, we'll be here all day. But very good. If you like any of these writers, I would say pick this up. It's Joelle Jones, whoever wrote Nubia Real One. If you like the Nubia Real One author, because you liked Nubia Real One, come on my show so I can debate you, because that'd be honest. Like, and I don't mean to say that. I don't mean to say to out you or whatever. No, I want to know what someone actually liked about that comic. But yeah, it's pretty good. All the. Again, none of the stories I was dreading having to read, like I read, because there's also two issues, so. But none of them, like, when I read issue 1, I was like, oh, I guess I get through that. Issue 2 now. One thing I hate they did is they have the backups for one of the Wonder Woman books in the front. So I found that out the hard way. I don't know why DC Comics doesn't just have the backup stories with the issue. So if it's issue 5 and 6, which it technically was, but this was 6 issues, which actually it was, so 6 issues. Issues 5 and 6, not actually called issues 5 and 6, but if you're counting, they did come with backups. So why doesn't DC just with 5 and 6, they have the backups after issue 5 and 6, after issue 5 and after issue 6? I don't know why they do that. It's really irritating that they do that. I honestly, like, they did that with the Batman book. Actually, the next book I'll be reviewing, All-Star Batman Volume 3. And just in general, that All-Star Batman series, they would have the backups at the end of the book, not at the end of each issue, and it was really annoying because I literally had to go, I had to technically sail the 7 high seas to know where each issue ended. You know, where the backup was, where the backup started, and where the backup ended. Because I like actually reading the entire book as it was published, you know? And of course, like, I don't care about ads or whatever. That's neither here nor there, but It's one of those things that annoys me. At least with Detective Comics back in the day, when they collect that, I know they're just collecting the Batman story. That at least is understandable, because they're collecting the Batman story. That makes sense. But here, I have no idea why they did that. It's still Wonder Woman. Yeah, it's different Wonder Woman than where it's a different character. I believe it was still a different character than was introduced in the Immortal Wonder Woman story and in the Immortal Wonder Woman issues. But still, it's kind of like, come on. So yeah, All-Star Batman and Robin. Okay, it was just low battery. I thought it said I was out of storage. So All-Star Batman and Robin Volume 3 is a damn good run, very underrated. No one talks about it at all anymore. Like, nobody. There's no back issues on it. Although did they even do one? Yeah, they did do one for Quarterfinals. They did review issue 1 on their off the rack. This is Comic Pop, by the way, YouTuber. They did do a review of issue 1 for their Off the Rack spin-off series. But that was it. This is a must read, especially if you liked Scott Snyder's run on New 52 Batman. Not as good as that run, obviously, but this came out pretty, like, somewhat recently. And Scott Snyder, somewhat recently, hasn't had the best track record with comics. With, not everyone likes his new stuff, so it's nice that this came along and kind of, showed that maybe he still had it. But this did come out in 2016, so I don't know if it was like, I'd say it's around that time. Because when did Dark Knight's Metal come out? Around that time, I feel. But very good run. Every issue was a bit long, but because it was oversized issues, but I didn't really feel longevity that much. But very criminally underrated run. Highly recommend it, or recommend it. Not highly recommend, just recommend it in general. Now this one is stuck. That's not good. This atrociously. I actually got the book. I got the book like this, and that was probably. This is definitely the worst condition I've gotten a library book, at least in a very long time. But I want to say of all time. And this was The Incredibles Volume 1. I got in this because it's Mark Waid. Mark Waid wrote for The Incredibles comics. And I liked it. It was, good, pulpy fun. It's not as good as the TV show. It's not good as the TV show. It's not as good as the movie. And it kind of reminds me of when they would do the TV shows based off comics, based off the movie. Like Emperor's New Groove had a TV show. They had one for this isn't Pixar, but they had one for that stupid Home movie from DreamWorks. And a TV show for that. So it kind of reminds me of that, where it's not as good as the movie is, but like some of them you'll find are really good. Like I heard actually that the Emperor's New Groove TV show is actually pretty good. I believe one of them is. I know one of them they said the TV show was actually good. Maybe it was Lilo and Stitch. I don't know. Point is, that's what this reminded me of. It's one of those TV shows based off the movies that isn't as good, but still enjoyable enough. And you want to stick around for the next episodes, and I will be getting. Actually, I already got Volume 2, but I will keep continuing the series. The thing about that is I had to actually look up online which ones I got on the wiki, what the order of the volumes come in, because there's no Volume 1 or Volume 2. I don't think even just say here. Maybe no, I wouldn't, because that's the what the sticker is covering the library sticker is the the logo, like Boom Studios, or actually it was Boom Studios, it was Boom Kids. Then we have another Mark Waid Boom Studios comic, The Unknown. In this one, not terrible, but not too great either. It was okay, but it was still enjoyable enough for me to want to pick up Volume 2. Although I would just do that regardless. If it's a two or three volume series, I will just, no matter how I feel with the series, to finish it once and for all, I will just get the next few volumes. And so be it if my library doesn't have Volume 2 or Volume 3. But they did have Volume 2. But it wasn't terrible. I could see why people like the series, but I wasn't. It was kind of eh. Next one up is Feathers, written and drawn by George Corona. So I don't usually, or Jorge, I think it is. I don't usually say like, oh, it's written and drawn by this guy and yada 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 for books that I'm reviewing. I probably should start doing that, but some of these books, like Feathers, you just look up this, you know what the cover looks like, and there's no two feathers. It's not like you get confused, Even if you accidentally put in volume 2, or you accidentally get volume 2, it's still the same series. But Feathers was pretty good, not spectacular or anything. It reminded me a lot of Wind, which is another Boom Studios comic. It's also Boom Studios. It's Archaea Boom, but it still says Boom right here. So yeah, I still know it's Boom. But it reminded me a lot of Wind, another Boom Studios kids comic. This is also a kids comic. I did still enjoy it. Regardless, I thought it was still decent, but not like spectacular or anything like that, and probably not something I would jump to read. I would clamor to read again. But it's still enjoyable enough. I still recommend it, especially if you like Jorge Corona's artwork. And also, like you're like me, you want to see how good he is at writing. Dead Dudes, and we still this is written by Christopher Zabala, and we still have yet to read something by Christopher Zabala, or I don't want to say we. I still have yet to read something by Christopher Zabala that I really liked. The only thing that I can think of, and that's why I bought the series, was Crowded. Issue 1, again, it started out kind of, like, cringy a bit, but it got better as it went along, and it actually did end like cliffhangers. I wanted to know what happened next, and my local library only had volume 1, and so I was like, yeah, screw it, I'll buy the series myself, and I got everything that he's written for Image Comics. But this got a little bit closer to, it was almost good, but it was just still kind of like, and it had like this thing, they would censor the dialogue, like it had like they have swear and they bleep it, and it made sense at first because they were doing a TV show, but then it'd be real life, and then they would still bleep it. It was really weird. This is the Oni Press. You're allowed to swear. It was just very jarring, and it got very annoying too. And every single time, every other word was dude or bro. So that got very annoying very quick. But it was still like, even then it was still just okay. Then we have Letter 44. It's good, not great. It's overall I would say it's good, not great. It's I feel very mixed with this series, because sometimes like it'd be really boring, but then it'd get a pick up as the series went along. And by every volume has 6 chapters, and I swear to God, like every chapter would be, for the most part, would be like the first 3 issues would be slow, then it'd pick up. Here it did pick up, like it was more consistently good than bad. Like it was more, per issue. I mean, or per, you know what I'm saying. I hope. What I'm trying to say is basically like it was more consistently good. Like more issues were good than bad. But still not my favorite series. Still not one I'm gonna read. I'm just gonna finish off the series and probably never read it again. But still, I still want to finish it off, see how everything ends. But it's also very convoluted, and a lot is going on. It's a lot of characters, and it would be okay if it was a 10-issue series, even a 10-issue series, because it's not too much to have to reread. If I want to like do an official review of this series and actually go in depth, I can't do that for the series without having to reread it, and I'm not doing that. Spider-Girl volume, I think this is 4 or 5. I don't know. If you're going by the issues it collects, I believe that's issue 4. It has to be volume 4. Let's see. Does it show it here? Wait, would you know? Yeah, volume 4. Volume 4. This is a damn good series. It just keeps getting better. This is probably my favorite volume of the series so far. This is criminally underrated. If you like different interpretations of Marvel heroes, or no, this is all new, because this is a creation. This is Tom DeFalco's creation, but I mean like it's a different world. It takes place in like Earth 2 or whatever. If you like those kinds of stories, you'll like this. And also, if you like Spider-Man in general, you like this. Punisher Volume 1. This is the War Machine Punisher, and I love this book. This is really damn enjoyable. It's only 2 volumes, and I hope that it seems like they can tell a whole story in 2 volumes. It's not like, you could argue that it's kind of a weird thing for Punisher to become an Iron Man, and that's kind of like, oh, everyone's an Iron Man now. And even then, I've never been too annoyed by that, Because I also like there are certain characters I'd like to see become Iron Man. Not like every character, of course, but it's pretty enjoyable. I liked it. It was so violent too. Like it wasn't like Punisher was like, oh, I don't want to be violent. I don't want to be Punisher anymore. I don't want to use guns. You know, not one of those books where he used swords and they assassinate his character at the end of the 12th issue run or anything like that. It's not like that. Well, I wonder if that would ever happen. Then they got America Volume 2, and I hate this book. Ms. Marvel Team Up, the only Ms. Marvel book that I didn't really enjoy. And for the most part, I liked Ms. Marvel. It's a good comparison to America. I wouldn't just do a quick review of America. I didn't want to talk about that too much. Basically, I hate everything about it. Ms. Marvel, but Ms. Marvel is like one of those characters that like everyone hates Ms. Marvel. I'm like, yeah, I actually kind of like her stories, but okay. And it's of course it's their opinion, and they do a damn good job of explaining why they don't like the character, and I can understand that why they wouldn't like the character. But like they wouldn't like the character for those reasons. But I still like it. I still think it's an enjoyable series. But the Marvel Team Up one, much like this Marvel Team Up in general, is kind of like almost the black sheep of that series. Like Spider-Man series, Marvel Team Up I never really enjoyed. It was kind of like the least enjoyable of all the Spider-Man books that were coming out at that time. Same with Ms. Marvel. Very, very forgettable too. Like, yeah, I remember the basic plot synopsis, but it was kind of like, oh yeah, what exactly? How did that end? What was here? And then what was that? And, yeah, I had to like, and it was like when I was reading issue 3, you know, and I was like, oh, what happened in issue 2? I remember like, oh, they did this, but that happened. I remember specifics. I remember enough to know. Okay, this is issue 3. Yep. I didn't feel like I skipped an issue or whatever, but I still had to like. It's very, very forgettable. Secret Avengers Volume 3 by this is Ailes Cotsman. Apparently it's Ali not. That's how New Condition pronounce his name, but I say Ailescott or Alicott. I'm probably it's probably Alicott. Because I've heard Alicott. Actually, I heard everything. Every which way his name is pronounced. But this is a damn good run, and this one isn't like you could read. This is the only Secret Adventures book I've read besides the Brubaker run. Even that was a long time ago, so I didn't feel like I was missing something. Some questions I was like, oh, what happened here? But they told you what happened. I was like, oh, it would be nice if I had read that, you know, because then that would be more impactful. But other than that, and I was like one time this entire 15-issue maxi series. So limited series technically, but probably wasn't. I don't know because it ended, but damn good run. My favorite Ailescott book, but I haven't read too much by him, and now I'm an Ailescott fan. Like, that's how good this book is. Now I'll consider picking up something Ailescott has written, and I did pick up all the books he had done for Image Comics. One of which I had read before called Generation Gone, which I thought was okay, but Secret Adventures was damn good. And hell, I might just do the same thing with Secret Adventures and read Generation Gone again, do a second read-through review. Because Secret Adventures, the first time I read it, I didn't like it. That was very cringy dialogue. I didn't like it at all, but very good this time around. Like, it's damn good run. Pretty underrated, too. No one talks about Secret Adventures in general. Civil War Frontline. If you like Civil War, you'll like this. This, like, bridges some gaps, answers a lot of questions you may have. Like, gives you a lot of insight on, like, oh, I want more of this. It pretty much just gives you that. It's the Daily Bugle, Civil War, so it's not specifically per character, but it's also an anthology series, so you would get 3 stories per issue. Some ended like it was only like a one-shot kind of thing, like it was only one issue. All these were damn good. Like none of them. The only thing I didn't like was at the end of each issue, and it's only a few pages, so nothing I would be like, oh, like they had this. And it's like a real, it's a real world tragedy, and they would splice the characters with it, like, oh, ain't that cool, you know, kind of like a world outside your window kind of thing, and that's what Marvel Comics is. And I did like that kind of aspect. I think it was done pretty well, but it was also a bit preachy, and just kind of like, it was very dialogue heavy, because they would tell you, on January 15th, 1945, and that'd be like a paragraph of the text, and I was like, great. And it was already long. It's already 34 pages per issue. So, definitely very wordy. As the number one thing I would say about this book, the only like minor downside, but other than that, it was a damn good series. And if you liked Civil War and you want to know what happened with Speedball, some with Spider-Man, because Spider-Man does have his own spin-off for Civil War, but like kind of like, if you want all in one, you got here. Got what happens with Sally Floyd and what's the guy's name? I should know his name. Ben Urich. If you want to know what happens with them, they answer those questions. A lot of questions they answer here, and it's like, again, it's all one too. You can either get it per volume, it's 2 volumes, or all in one like this. I recommend doing this, but nice little, like, it's worthy of being a tie-in. Like, it's not one of those tie-ins where you're like, you know, I can do without this, but it kind of is necessary, honestly. Doctor Strange, Volume 4. This is the end of Jason Aaron's run, and I feel almost the exact opposite I did the first time I read it. I finally understand why everyone loved this run so much, because it is a pretty damn good run. A lot goes on, like a lot. I feel like there's kind of not lost the plot a bit, but I lost the plot a bit. But I still really enjoy this book. I do recommend it. Next up, we have the other book that I owned that I didn't show before. That's Marvel's Eye of the Camera, the sequel to Marvel's by Kurt Busiek. It has a touch of sequel-itis, but especially the last 2 issues especially. If only the rest of the book was as good as those last 2 issues, I would probably say this is I'd probably say it was like a criminally underrated sequel. And everyone should check it out. You know, why doesn't anyone talk about this? But because it's not as good as those last 2 issues, I give I say there's a recommendation in general kind of thing. Like, it's good, don't get me wrong, but not spectacular. Obviously not as good as the first. I wasn't expecting that, but it's worth checking out if you want more Marvels, but you know it's not, but you don't have super high expectations. Cal Exit, pretty good. I actually kind of like this book. It does get a little bit like annoying at times, but when it actually is telling a story, it's pretty damn good, and it's not too one-sided, and it's not too like, oh, all the villains are absolute jerks. Like, not every villain is an absolute jerk. Like, some guys working with the villain that aren't like that have kind of 2 sides to their story. But the main villain kind of is like, it's kind of like fun bad. Like, he's like it's one of those characters that's like really brutal, and you like that they go that extra mile. Not like super graphic, but like he becomes formidable because of what he does, and that I would say is worthy of I recommend by itself. Because sometimes they'll make a character too annoying, like too, like they like, oh, this is the villain because we don't like these kinds of people. And I'm sure that there is that in there, and I'm sure that you could pick apart this book and say, oh, it is a woke shit here, but I enjoyed it, and I'm the kind of guy who hates it when they'll have like a female, like say like Punisher, and they have like a female hero that's a new hero and then she'll be better than Punisher. That kind of shit I hate. So coming from something that's like that, I actually like this book. That should tell you how much that's tell you how good this book is. It's not absolutely spectacular, and I always give a kind of recommend, and I hate to give it the same kind of recommend as Marvel's Eye of the Camera. So I would say, like, get this for free. Like, I get to pay for this book, even though this is a good price for how thick this trade is. I would say get this for free, or at a huge discount, at least half off. Next up, we have another one of those series where I just decided to finish it, once and for all kind of thing, because there's only 3 volumes. Kim and Kim. I will probably never read this book again. It was just annoying. But this volume was probably the best out of the 3, because it actually did kind of like it was pretty good. Like, it had some, like, you could tell that Magdalene Visaggio was trying to do better, like trying to get better at her craft. It's not as good as Uja Wuja, but it's the only 2 series I've read by her is Uja Wuja and this. Uja Wuja, even your boy Zach likes, and your boy Zach is very critical about comics, and especially modern comics. He's very critical about them, and he absolutely hates Magdalene Visaggio for good reasons. She kind of is a bully, a bit of a bully, but that's something that came over there. I don't want to get too much into that, but this isn't terrible. It's just okay. It's very mediocre. and not a series that I'd ever consider reading again. Man-Eaters is just fun bad, and it's honestly just kind of enjoyable too. If it wasn't for like, and you could argue that there isn't, like, that's not what they're going for, but it's a message here that isn't the best message. Isn't a message, but what they're going for. Like, it's too over the top, and you feel like that's actually what Chelsea Kane thinks the world will come to, and it's nowhere near what's gonna happen in this world. Trust me, you're gonna get what you want in life. Chelsea Kane, Man-Eater, but it's still a good series. I still kind of like it. I still enjoy picking it up, but I would never consider buying it myself. And if I did, I'd only be to be a completist for something. Oh, well, these kinds of books. Even then, probably not. Wicked and Divine, Volume 2. I've read this a bunch of times before, and it's just as good as the last 100 times. It's a fantasy series. If you like fantasy, if you like Kieran Gillen's writing, you'll love that. Wayward is a series I'm thinking of along with Wicked and Divine. It's so damn good. I almost want to buy this series myself, even though my local library has the entire series for both this and Wigdiv. But it's so damn good. I almost want to buy it myself, you know. But it won't be something I do right away. And probably not all at all either. Probably not. I don't know. Why did I say that so awkwardly? Happy by Grant Morrison. Very good, but just too dark. And honestly, the sci-fi series seems to be a bit better. My aunt had seen I was reading the book because I was on the table. It's like, oh, yes, I remember liking this series. It's really funny. And I was like, yeah, I remember. Like, I watched a trailer of it. So I wasn't completely taken aback by, oh, it actually is funny, because it's very dark here. And I think that the TV show will be dark too, but I think the TV show has more comedy than this does. I still enjoyed it a lot. I still think it's a very good Grant Morrison book, and a good starting point for Grant Morrison. If you don't want too confusing, too big scope of Grant Morrison, I would say pick this up. Bolero, very damn good. As good, and I liked it as much as I did the first time. This is the prime example, the definition of a mature rated comic. There's nudity on every page, sex on every page, but it's a damn good romance comic. I'm not a huge fan of, well, I say a huge fan, but even for someone like me that will not, is very hesitant to, especially in movies, check out a romance movie, a rom-com, even comics, honestly. This was proof that not every romance comic is what you're thinking of. You know, and this was more. It was a romance science fiction book, so it was more to it than that. But very good. Basically, it's very similar to Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, without giving too much away. Not the same plot, obviously, but it's very similar to it. You know, it has kind of that that kind of feel to it. Last, but certainly not the least, is Beowulf, and I enjoyed this book, but it wasn't spectacular. It was very fast paced, almost too fast paced, and the artwork was pretty good. He'll show it. Now I'll show it towards the start. But the artwork was kind of more cartoony than you expect it to be. But I still enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. Not anything too spectacular, but still enjoyable. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to do not a speed run, but I'm going to take out all the books I didn't like, and then that will be that. So if you want to know what comics I don't recommend, kind of like an all-in-one kind of thing, I will do that right now. I'm not going to include Miss Marvel Team Up. That one I still like. I like the overall series itself. Even Dead Dudes I'm not going to include. Dead Dude was I still do kind of recommend that series, and what I mean by I don't recommend them, I mean they're terrible. I don't like the series at all. There's hardly any redeeming qualities. Again, even Gotham Academy I'm not going to include. There we go. So is it just 3 of them? Yep, the only three books I didn't like was Noche, Roja, America, and Kim and Kim. Honestly, there's America and Kim and Kim, but even Noche, Roja, I wouldn't give a free pass to. But that, as I say, is that. Wow, 44 minutes. I thought it was 20 minutes. Damn. So it's good I did that at the end. So yeah, I'll put it in the description, because some of you guys are asking like, oh, I want to know what books you liked and didn't like, and kind of like put them apart. So all the ones, so I'm just gonna write down what I didn't like, because it's just 3 books I write down, but that's it.